Hey folks, thanks for joining me today. We are doing another live broadcast this morning, and today we're focusing on a brewing technique which many of you probably heard of before, maybe some of you have even tried at home. And the technique we're going to be working on today is what's called which is the Turkish coffee method using what's called an ibrik. This is the ibrik. You've probably seen them before. Often they're made of copper. My copper one is packed away, so I won't be able to use that today. But we are going to use this steel one, and we're going to go through what is really a modified way of using the ibrik. I want to give everyone just a second to tune in. Sometimes it takes a few seconds for folks to join us. Thanks if you're here. I appreciate you coming to be with us today. I do want to also ask you, if you like what you're seeing here on these live demos that we do, be sure to share them. Every time someone shares, you get put into a drawing basket. Today, the first person who shares, when I go back through comments here, when I go back through the video after we've posted, I'm going to send you some coffee. And the coffee I'm going to send you today is what I am using to brew. Oh, yeah, can you see it there? It's a little bit washed out. It's the Burundi Barache, the Gahahe. The Burundi coffee is a fantastic coffee. I've loved it. We've had it for this is our third year, I believe, that we've been working with this coffee. I like it for this method because I prefer to have Africans when I do a full immersion, which is what the ibrik is. The ibrik is a full immersion coffee methodology. So let's talk a little bit about what that means. So when we're brewing with full immersion, we usually tend to use very coarse ground coffee, correct? Whether that's a French press or with a clever dripper. We use those because we know that the water is surrounding the coffee and it's going to be in saturation for the entire time that it's brewing. The difference with Turkish coffee as it's traditionally made is that we use actually a very, very fine grind. And this is actually like a powdery. It's probably the finest setting on your home grinder. So when you use your home grinder, you'll want to make sure you turn it all the way over to its finest setting in order to get this powdered consistency. There's going to be a few other changes we're going to make with the standard ibrik method. Often with the ibrik, what will happen is they'll put in this finely ground coffee, they'll add water, and sugar, and then they will heat it up till it froths up. They'll scoop off the crema into the cups, and then they'll put it back on the flame for a second heating in which it froths up again. Now that's a traditional methodology, but we're going to modify that a little bit based on some learning I've been doing recently. There are, in fact, ways to take craft coffee, like the coffee we roast, and you make it in this same ibrik methodology and get a really nice cup of coffee that doesn't over extract. So as you are probably aware, usually we have this very coarse coffee so that it does not over extract. Yet with this method, since we have no filtration, we're using a very fine ground, which allows it to settle to the bottom more quickly. However, we have to now make up for the fact that since it's going to be in full immersion, it's very finely ground, we have to adjust our technique slightly. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take our ibrik, we're going to use a modified ratio of coffee. Often we talk about ratios with brewing. We do a 1 to 17, 1 to 16, meaning for every 1 gram of coffee, we'll have 16 or 17 grams of water. In this case, we're going to have a 1 to 10 ratio. So we're going to start by weighing out our coffee into the ibrik. Did the exact thing I did not want to do there. So that's fine though. Because with a scale, I can just simply adjust my recipe. So here we have 21 grams of coffee. Now I'm going to add in my water before I start any brewing process. Now usually you would add in your filtered water cold. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add it in at a slightly raised temperature, because overall, when we begin the heating process, I do want it to create that froth, but I don't want it to sit in there for a long time. So I'm going to try and speed up the heating process by adding in water that is warmer than room temperature. So with 21 grams, 1 to 10, I'm going to add up to 210. Always remember to tare your scale. Also, you see a little bit of steam rising. You know, one of the great things about these gooseneck kettles is you're able to direct your coffee. All right. Now, another thing we're going to do with the ibrik, once we have the coffee in there, we're going to give it a good agitation. Reach all the way to the bottom, give it a good stir. All right? Now comes the fun part. We're going to put it on heat. Now I'm going to start a timer. So we're going to watch the time roll along here. See if you can see that there. So you can see it better. All right, so I'm going to put the heat all the way up. Now, often when you'll see the modern ibriks being made, there's a competition for this, just like we have other coffee competitions. They have a Turkish Coffee Championship. They'll have a special little burner and the flame's right in the center, and that gets the coffee hot really fast. Since most of us don't have those, we may have a gas stove or a single gas burner at home, those flames, as you can see, wrap up around the side of the ibrik. So that's another reason that we've added the warmer water in order to speed up this process, because really what we're looking to have is about a 2-minute and 30-second total brew time for this, right? Again, we're using our fundamentals in that we are wanting to observe proper ratio, proper grind size for the method. Usually a method that has coffee in the water the entire time has a very coarse grind setting. In this case, we're of course doing a much finer grind, because we want those to settle as the brewing process goes on. As it begins to foam, I'm going to turn the temperature down. You can see that foam there beginning to build. We're at 1 minute and 26 seconds. One of the great things about gas stoves, of course, is your ability to manipulate your heat very quickly. So you'll see here, I'm going to drop it all the way down, trying to get to that 2-minute period in which I'll take it off the heat to cool for just a second. And lift it up a little bit, draw it away from the heat. And there we are at 2 minutes. I'll turn off the temperature here. Okay. So, we have our ibrik made now. It's going to rest for another 30 seconds or so. Be careful. You know, one nice thing about these is often is the long handle that they have, right? So, but even so, it will raise in temperature, so make sure you're aware of that. So, how are we going to serve this? So often, the ibrik is served along with a little water to cleanse the palate, and usually something sweet. In this case, since I'm using the Burundi Gahahe, I've chosen to have some dates, apricots, which is one of the flavor profiles we associate with this coffee, and some sweet cookies to serve that with as well. All right, we're actually at just 3 minutes, so we're going to go ahead and decant this. You can pour, you can see, you're able to pour, and the grounds can stay back. Now, as you know, if you've had Turkish coffee before, you're going to get grounds in the cup. It's a part and parcel to the brewing method. But hopefully, by reducing the brew time, we're able to create a cup that is still clean and consistent, that allows us to enjoy a coffee in the morning in a traditional fashion, very ancient way of making coffee, but holds on to some of the things that we've learned um, as we've worked in specialty coffee, and we've brought new methods and methodologies to old styles, just like with espresso. Espresso started, last century, and it had a very different way of being made. And as people began interacting with it more, we started actually changing the way we make espresso. The same thing with this Turkish method. We are able to actually take what we've learned as a global community in coffee, share it with each other, and make great coffee that highlights the coffee and its flavor profiles in a way that allows us to still use these old and lovely simple ways of making coffee. I learned these techniques. I was able to share. I was next to a booth actually at a coffee event several years ago with the 2012 Turkish coffee champion. And he was giving demonstrations, and then I've been able to watch some of his information to learn this. So this way of adjusting our coffee knowledge to an old way of making coffee comes from the folks who know it best, the folks in Turkey who have been using this method for so long. I hope you learned something today. I want to make sure to let you know that we're going to have a video tomorrow at the same time at 9 o'clock on the main Batdorf page. It's going to be Ben Jones, and he's going to be doing a discussion of brewing, the differences between brewing lighter or medium roasts and darker roasts. So be sure to check in for that. And again, I'll look in here and see if folks have shared the video today, and make sure that you get a gift of coffee. And later today, I want to make sure that you show up here at the Facebook main page for a live show. Brendan's going to be doing Coffee Talk. That's a longer format show. It starts at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. A longer format show. He'll be doing a lot of interaction for the folks who show up. There'll be some more gifts given out for folks who are there interacting with him as he does some brewing demos. And it should be a really fun time. I know I'm going to be there. I hope to see you there. Please keep coming, checking us out, and letting us know what you think of how we're helping you to turn your homes into cafes. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.